Okay, good morning, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Cold Hard Truth. I am your host, Sandy Hill. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got a lot of ground to cover. Today is Wednesday. I always got to check my dates now because the days are starting to melt together. Um, Today is, yes, Wednesday, April the 15th. It is my day, A through K, A through L. I always forget if it ends with L or K, but A through L, and then K through Z is tomorrow. Having a nice apple, delicious apple to get my day started. Remember what your mom always told you? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Wow. It may not keep him away, but I think it helps a little bit. So, I hope you guys are doing fine. You're doing dandy. The weather looks beautiful outside. My eyes are a little bit dry and irritated, but that's kind of been the norm lately. I feel like I'm just not getting enough sleep at nights, but hey, what can you do? Yesterday I was so tired I wanted to take a nap, and I was doing my best to get my 3-year-old to nap with me, and that just never worked out. I was like, come on, let's go lie down and take a nap. And she refuses to nap when she's at home with us. When she's at school, she gets into that routine and she takes naps during the day, but not here. She hasn't napped with us, oh my gosh, in forever. The only way I can get her to nap is if I literally take her out for a car ride. And she'll fall asleep in the car. But the second you get out, she's back up again. So I don't know what to do about that, but she refuses to take naps otherwise. I mean, you can see sometimes she's so tired and she's like, I'm tired. I'm like, yes, let's just lie down, take a nap. It's just not happening. Okay, let's start off with our daily Good morning to all of you beautiful people. I will do a few shout outs here in a minute. We do have a guest joining us around 8:15 or so. So we'll go ahead and get started with everything else until that point. So daily for the day says becoming a better person. These are always so interesting for me anyway. I hope you guys enjoy them. This one says we understand that we want to be better, but have no clear definition of what better means, and that is part of the process. Oh, interesting. By the way, we're now simulcasting on YouTube and Facebook. We're asking anyone on Instagram, so if you got Instagram folks or friends who normally watch us on that platform, to please join us on YouTube. Instagram is just a little too much work, unfortunately. And it just always is problematic because the truth of the matter is Instagram does not want you to stream on their platform except by a phone in a very limited capacity. So I think that's why the limitations are there. All right, so this daily says that at some point in our lives, many of us find ourselves overcome with the desire to become better people. Well, hopefully at some point. While we are not uniquely capable of navigating this world, while we are all uniquely capable of navigating this world, we may nonetheless feel driven to grow, expand, and change. This innate need for personal expansion can lead us down many paths as we develop within the context of our individual lives. Yet the initial step that can put us on the road to evolution are not always clear. We understand that we want to be better, but have no clear definition of better. To ease this often frustrating uncertainty, we can take small steps, keeping our own concept of growth in mind rather than allowing others to direct the course of our journey. And we should accept that change won't come overnight. We may not recognize the transformations taking place within us at first. Becoming a better person in your own eyes is a whole life project. and thus you should focus your step-by-step efforts on multiple areas of your existence. Since you likely know innately which qualities you consider good, growing as an individual is simply a matter of making an effort to do good whenever possible. Respect should be a key element of your efforts. When you acknowledge that all people are deserving of compassion, consideration, and dignity, you're naturally more apt to treat them in a manner you yourself wish to be treated. You will intuitively become a more active listener, universally helpful and truthful. Going the extra mile and all you do can also facilitate evolution. Approaching your everyday duties with an upbeat attitude and positive expectations can help you make the world a brighter, more cheerful place. Finally, coming to terms with your values and then abiding by them will enable you to introduce a new degree of integrity and dignity into your life. As you endeavor to develop yourself further, you can take pride not only in your successes, but also in the fact that you are cultivating consciousness within yourself through your choices, actions, and behaviors. While you may never feel you've reached the pinnacles of awareness you hope to achieve, you can make the most of this creative process of transformation. Becoming a better person is your choice and is a natural progression in your journey of self-awareness. Some pretty deep thoughts there. My eyes are super dry. You guys have to forgive me. I've got eye drops this morning that I'm going to be using. I always notice that, I think I got some in. My eyes are really, really dry today. I always notice that whenever I have dry eyes or I have a flare up, it's always my left eye that is by far the worst. I think my left eye is just like the weaker eye. Let's do a few morning shout outs here. Who do we have joining us this morning? We have Yvonne asking about, this is from last night actually, she posted this comment, what's going on in Jamaica? So we're going to find out at 8:15, live and direct from Jamaica. I actually have a video that I need to upload. So Yvonne, thank you for reminding me of that. Helen, hopefully Helen is here for it. Good morning, Helen. Helen wants to know when. Well, hopefully you're tuned in this morning and we can get it, like I said, live and direct. I do have persons who were sending me videos last night of what their situation was in Jamaica. And so we will definitely be uploading those here in a second to our YouTube channel, and we can then share them on the show. So Helen wants to know, where's the chaos? She seems to be doubting what we're saying. And then Kizzy Ann says, Helen, it is indeed chaos, hon. I'm here. People are not listening. So Helen, we're going to break it down for you this morning, hopefully. We're just waiting on our correspondent to join the conversation. And I will, give me 1 second. I'm just trying to upload this situation to YouTube as well. So we try to put as many of our videos on YouTube as possible. And then you guys know that we have a photo, like a dedicated photo website also. And we will be putting, some information there, some videos there for you guys. So this was from last night in Jamaica, and I'm going to load this up now while we are talking. All right, so hopefully Helen is tuned in. Jade, thank you so much for tuning in. Irvelyn, the beautiful Irvelyn, good morning, good morning. Kinu, is that how you say it, or do you just say Kinu? Good morning. You guys have to forgive me if I butcher your names. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Lenny, good morning, Lenny. How are you? Good to see you here today. Tamika, thank you so much. I think we should have sound now. Forgot to unmute my mic. We've got Grace Ann. Thank you, Grace Ann. Sherry Ann is here for it. It's a beautiful day. Be safe now, you all. And yes, it is indeed a beautiful day. And we are all alive and well. And so, despite whatever is going on in the world, we still have a lot to be thankful for. Um, uh, so, I'm just trying to decide what to call this. Yes. So, okay. So, we're getting that loaded on YouTube. Yeah, folks. So, the amazingly sad thing is we are now starting to get a considerable amount of information about people who are dying around the world. So, someone just messaged me last night to say that their extended relatives, two of them, I think it was a mother and daughter, had actually passed away because of COVID-19 in New York. So, guys, we're all interconnected. And so now people are dying around the world. And I saw someone else on Facebook posted that their friend passed away from COVID-19. So this is going to start to touch us, although it's not people in the Cayman Islands dying. It's still people that we know and that we love. There are friends and extended family that are now dying. So this person's sister's husband's aunt. So their sister's husband's aunt and her daughter, who both lived in New York, both died from the coronavirus. So a mother and daughter. I mean, it's just horrific to think about what that means. Sophia, thank you so much for tuning in. We've got Cecile. Catherine says that she's heading to work and listening at the same time. Girl, Catherine, you are a hard-working woman. You're always headed to work early in the morning. Peter Gay, thank you so much. Miss Verma is here for it. Dorothy, Gina, Michelle. Now, Mrs. Dilbert, I think I'm always pronouncing your name. One day you're going to have to send me a voice note and tell me how to actually properly pronounce it. But I was told by someone that they call you guys, is it Issy? So I wonder if it is it Iselin? Iselin or Iselin? You tell me. Spell it out phonetically for me, because now I'm really, really curious. But thank you so much. I haven't seen you in a couple days on here. Good to see you again. Purvis. Good morning, Purvis. Donna Marie. Hello, beautiful. Again, asking about the money transfers. There's been absolutely no update on that front. Trisha was here for it. First Lady J-Ann. Oh, you guys do know that I forgot my water this morning, right? So when our guests join us, I'm going to put her in the camera view and I'm going to go grab some water, because I've just realized I do not have my glass of water, which I like to have handy. Morna, beautiful Morna. Sue, good morning, Sue. How are you? Oh, this name, Noslin, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Who else have we got tuned in this morning? Joy Ebanks. Joy says, good morning, K-Man. Good morning, Miss Joy. She's joining us from overseas. I think, Miss Joy, are you in Texas? Can you confirm for us? Because my memories tell me you're in Texas. Holly Ann says to download the Western Union app and use your debit card. I actually used it yesterday to send a friend some money in the States. But Holly Ann, do you know if that works for Caribbean people? So, I mean, it worked with my Caribbean card, but if I was sending from like Cayman to Jamaica, I actually still have the Western Union tab up on my phone on the computer. So maybe I'll just log in and see if sending to the Caribbean is a possibility. I kind of think, because it looks like the numbers, like when you set up where you could send to, it looked like to me, or not send to, but like your information, it kind of looked like you could only put like register if you were in the States. So I wonder if this is like a US or Canadian situation. So I do have a US number. So the good thing about this little app is you can have all the receivers there. So I guess you can save that. You can look at your different transactions by year. But I'm just a bit curious about where you can send to, if there are any restrictions in sending to the Caribbean. And obviously, I was able to send from um, Cayman, but I was able to send from Cayman using a US card. So it does say maybe you can send anywhere. So it's country, territory, um, and it does have all the Caribbean islands. Let me see here. It does have Jamaica. So it says that purchase location around the world to send and receive money, purchase a money order, or pay utility bills. Okay, so if I put in Jamaica, um, and then it says I want to start and store, receive money. So let's say I want to so there's different options. So what I was able to do yesterday is I was able to send this money directly to someone's bank account because they live, like I said, in the States and they have an American bank account. So that was easy enough. So that is an option here, money transfer to a bank account. You can also do cash money transfer. I don't know how that varies from sending it to the bank account. Like, where does the cash go? So, oh, that says if I want to start in a store. So that would be a physical store. Now, if I want to start online, finish in the store, I can pay for money transfer and I can do Amazon pay code. Huh. What is Amazon pay code? This is interesting. So when they say pay for money transfer, that does that mean that I can send money, payment type? So let's say if I said debit. So I want to check this out some more. I mean, obviously I don't have anyone that Western Union services browse by browse for locations by state. So yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about this. So it says, please enter a location to search. So I put in country and territory as Jamaica. And then it said enter city code or province. So let's say I said Kingston, right? So then I click on go. So it's got all these different locations that come up: Kingston 10, Pavilion Mall, Panoramic Brooklyn, Stafford Boulevard, Paper Gold, Crossroads. So they've got a bunch of locations that come up within Kingston. Okay. And then, this is when I need my water, right? Sorry. And then what do I do? Okay. So then I say I want to send cash money transfer. So I think that's what I want to do. Okay. So if I want to send cash money transfer, what's the next step? Western Union. Okay. Do I then just pick a location? So say, for example, I wanted it to go to Panoramic Brooklyn Supermarket. I click on that location. Very good. And then it says, it shows me the map. So it shows me the satellite map of where it is. Okay. And services. So now this is telling you what you can pick, what you can do. So I can do services in store, cash money, pick up money, start online and finish in store. So apparently I can pay for money transfer. It tells you what's available, I guess, for that location. Transfer money into a bank account. So does this mean I can transfer money into a bank account in Jamaica? Yeah. So it is a little, it would take you a minute to try to figure all of this out, folks. This isn't easy, and I suspect that not everyone may have access to like a computer. I don't know if the app is any easier to use, but already I kind of feel like I'm going in circles a little bit. So when I say send money to bank account, I'm pretty sure that's going to limit me to people who are in the US only. So it says send new, and then hold on, Jamaica comes up as an option. Wait a minute. It has the exchange rate. So if I want to send 300 Jamaican dollars, it says that that's 40,720. Okay. Your receiver's country and send amount. Huh. How does your receiver want to? So I can do cash pickup, which is a $5 transfer fee. I can say bank account, which according to them, there's no transfer fee. Let me see if it'll allow me to go to the next step. So I can pay online, or I can pay cash in store. So let me hit and continue. So those of you who are just joining me, I'm just kind of going through the website to see for Western Union, because a lot of people are asking this question. The local money services are not open. So people are asking how to do this. So Tamika says, Donna, please be careful with the Western Union online. There's scams going on. I'm from the US and my sister scammed over $1,000. I don't think that was from the official Western Union. So I don't know who that was, but I do know you have to be very, very careful. There was someone else using another money transfer system. They actually sent us over the weekend details on that, and they sent money. No one has ever received the money. Now they're asking for a refund, and they are still waiting on their refund. So Shan says a little bit of volumes. Let me turn up the volume. I'm just here trying to figure out how easy it is to actually use this money services online. If I wanted to send money from Cayman to Jamaica. So Broad Belt Michelin says, I'm at work and I am watching you. Thank you so much. Okay, so this one says, protect yourself from fraud. Speaking of fraud, only use Western Union to send money to friends and family. So this is so interesting. Can I tell you something? When I did this transaction yesterday to the States, this message did not pop up. I don't remember this message popping up, not at all. So when I'm trying to do it for Jamaica, then it pops up. Do not proceed with your money transfer if you've been asked to send money for an emergency situation you haven't confirmed, for an online purchase, for antivirus protection, for a deposit or payment on a rental property. So this is Western Union trying to save you from these scammers. For a charity donation, for a mystery shopping assignment, because that's a big scam. For an employment opportunity, for credit card or loan fee, to an individual you have not met in person, to claim lottery or prize winnings, to pay taxes, and to resolve an immigration matter. So funny enough, I do not recall having received any of these warnings yesterday. So I'm going to click and accept. And then it looks like I can send a receiver. I've got JM as the country code. Receiver's bank. Oh my gosh, look at this. Whoa, you learn something new every day. Bank of Nova Scotia, First Caribbean International Bank Jamaica Limited, First Global Bank Limited, National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited, and Sagicor. Those are at least the 4 or 5 major banks in Jamaica. And you can send directly into someone's bank account. Wow. I'm happy to know this. I'm going to test this with Danica in a couple days to see if this actually works. This would be so awesome. All right, I'm going to keep you guys updated because I really want to know if this works for sending money to Jamaica. In the US, they said it would take a couple days for him to get the money. So if this could go directly into someone's bank account, That saves them from having to go to the locations in Jamaica, which is, it's a lot safer if it's just directly in your bank account. So I love this if this works. Gotta love modern technology. Leslie, good morning. We have Kamisha. Good morning. Chance says she's on vacation. So Chance says the name is Iceland. Not Eastlyn, but Iceland. Like ice. Thank you, Chance, for the phonetics spelling. I appreciate that. Annie says, sure, boss not watching on her. Okay. Michelin, is your boss watching? We're all in like flex time right now, in the sense that we're working from home, we're working remotely. Even if we're in a back office and, there's no one else around, we can kind of just keep watching. So Michelin laughed at that. She's like laughing out loud. Shh. So this is the beauty of working from home. You have a little bit more flexibility. You're still getting your work done. I'm sure you're just as productive, if not more. Sherry Ann says, remember that not everyone has a debit card already. Remember that one. So this is the thing now where I really, really want to stress that there's certain things that we need to put in place. Online banking, getting access to debit card. I think these are things, we're now in 2020. These are things that we have to have. So if you're still only dealing with cash, that is to your detriment. We are becoming more and more a cashless society. And that's not the way to go. You're putting yourself at risk. And also when it comes to situations like this, you're not able to just traverse the world. So, I still have a helper who, unfortunately, she's the only person that I pay in cash because she doesn't seem to have a bank account. And I'm like, why? Set up a bank account. I could do online transfers. It saves me from having to go to the bank and have money on me because I don't like to walk with money. I don't like to walk with cash, none at all. It's very, very seldom that you will actually see me with any cash, and I prefer it that way. So I would say get on it. So Annie says Jamaica is the last place I would ever think of with that online with Western Union banking. Sorry, a born Jamaican, but trust no one. So Western Union, let me tell you what they did yesterday when I did my transaction. And Anika, if you have a debit card, I would love for you to try this option. What I did was I did my transaction. I got the information from the person in the States, bank account name, number, routing number, whatever. And Western Union said, we will verify your transaction. So I'm thinking, oh, they're just going to send me an email. No, honey. Annie, they called me on the phone and they had a lot of questions. Like, I tell you no lie. My husband was listening to the conversation and he was just like, why are they asking you all these questions? If they didn't ask me 10 to 15 questions, they didn't ask me a single question. Like, that's how in-depth it was. So it was everything. Name, who you're sending to, why are you sending it, the amount that you're sending, the distance between you and them. So they were like, how far is it from this person? Like, where do you drive? And I'm like, I don't know. Now I use my Miami address, which I do have linked to my Cayman debit card. And so they were saying to me about like what was the distance between that and this person who was somewhere else in Florida. And I had to think about it for a minute because I'm like, oh my God, it's been years since I've driven that, but I think it's like 4 hours. And they were like, okay, give us a landmark in the area where you're sending money from. So then I was like, okay, so a landmark, like a restaurant, a shopping center. So they really want to make sure that you are sending money from a location, number one, that you're familiar with and that you know. And number two, that you know the person who you're sending it to. So they were asking me about that person. Why was I sending money? All these different things. I was just like, whoa, it was like a proper interrogation. So I don't think that you have to worry about Western Union ripping you off. And presumably, if you can't trust your own bank or the bank on the other side, then you probably have an issue. So Shan is asking again about the volume. I think the volume is actually pretty good. I'm gonna just check it through my headset, but I'm speaking quite loudly and it's turned up like all the way as well. So Annie says people go in the bank, find a way to send money to Jamaica. That place may not take no check a backside. So it sounds like Annie is just not going to believe that Western Union Online works. Well, I can tell you I had no issues with it yesterday. I will confirm in a couple days if the money's been received, but Western Union has been around a really long time. And my cousin that I was sending it to in the States was like, okay, cool. Because I tried sending it by PayPal. Like I did send some money early in the week by PayPal, but PayPal actually charges you, because you're outside of the US, they actually charge you a fee. Like when I sent it to him, they ended up taking 50 something dollars off of what I was sending, which was really frustrating because I'm trying to send this person like an exact amount. And the thing with PayPal is you actually never know how much PayPal is going to take off. I use PayPal all the time, so I do know that they do take this money out, but you can't calculate it. You can't figure it out. So it depends on the money and the amount that you're sending, apparently. And as a result of that, it fluctuates considerably. So it's kind of frustrating. And so when I sent the Western Union yesterday, the thing that I liked about that is it told me exactly how much I was going to be charged. So I sent about $300 US and I paid $15 US to send that, which isn't that bad. And it looks like, based on what I'm seeing now, when you send it, it has a little summary here. So let me see if I can pull this up on screen and kind of show you guys how this looks. So it does give you a summary of the fees and what you're going to be sending. Now, the interesting thing about this is this doesn't have yet a transfer fee. So I want to complete the transaction to actually see how long it takes to get to Jamaica and so on. But give me 1 second. I'm actually going to pull this up in our chat here so that you guys can see it. I do want you guys to see this. So if you give me a second, so I'll show you kind of what I am seeing on my screen. So it does give you a breakdown of the respective fees and even an estimated time that it's going to take for the funds to be received. So I think that that's pretty good. I mean, like I said, I'll report to you guys in a couple days if it worked for the US. And I do want to try it for Jamaica because I do need to send someone some money there as well. So let us see if that is something that we can trust or not. And again, I feel confident that if I can't trust their online system, I probably can't trust anybody. At some level, we have to trust these services and so on. It is what it is. So let me just show you guys this one. Okay, so this is what I saw, what I'm seeing right now. So again, I just randomly put $300 US. And then it says transfer fee. Now, I don't know if that transfer fee amount will change once I continue the transaction. Like maybe it has to calculate it. It gives me the exchange rate that it's actually going to be using. So $1 US is 135.73 Jamaican dollars. So basically the amount that they'll get in Jamaica is listed there at the bottom. And then it says service time 0 to 6 business days. So it can take up to that amount of time. So I will test this out because I am very much curious to know, you know, kind of how well this will work. And I will advise you guys of what I find. Because, you know, we gotta find workarounds. Like right now, it's just not possible, and so we gotta do what we can do. Michelin says could be, can't help it. Yeah, your boss is probably listening to. Who cares? Simone, it takes 2 hours to get the money in your account in Jamaica with CIBC to, what is Victoria Mutal? I'm sorry, what is that? If you can let me know. So are you saying, Simone, that if you send it online with Western Union, you can get it in 2 hours? That would be pretty cool. Let us know. We would like some clarification. Good morning, Erica. And yeah, I mean, we've got to help each other out. Like, let's figure this out together. Like, if I need to do a transaction and I know that this works, then hey. Rachel wants to know if I have a U.S. billing address because someone told me I needed to have a U.S. address. Please, I would love to know. Now, to be fair, when I set up my profile, I'm trying to remember now. Oh my gosh, this was just yesterday, and I'm like, cannot remember. I think, let me think about this. I believe that I would have had to put on, so I did use, yes, from my profile, I did use a US address and phone number. Let me see if there are any other options. So it says city, state, Hawaii, Wyoming, so it's got all the states. So I don't see where, from my own profile, I could create a profile with an address overseas. So this could be now where it's going to be a problem that you can probably only use an American address. I'm curious to know how this works. I wonder if we can call Western Union. You think anybody's working? It says call us. Western Union customer care. All right, guys, give us a second. Let us do this. I'm going to pull up my app here to call the US. Customer care, website care. All right, so we got 1-800-325-6000. Let's get Western Union on the line, folks. See what they got to say.
Western Union is here to support our customers. We are closely monitoring COVID-19 coronavirus developments and are doing everything possible to support our customers. For your safety, we offer multiple ways to send money, including via our application or WU.com.
For English, press 1. Para español,
So Rachel
we are
says,
experiencing high call volumes and wait times may be longer than usual. As an alternative, please visit our website, westernunion.com. Otherwise, please continue to hold. All calls are answered in the order received.
All right.
We apologize for any inconvenience.
No problem, Western Union. Rachel has me cracking up. Oops.
Here's what I can help you with. Say, change or cancel a money transfer, returning a call from Western Union, send money or make a payment, for MyWoo membership or available rewards, find an agent location, or you can say more options.
More options.
Choose one from these additional options. Say, check status, look up fees or exchange rates, information on money orders, report an issue on a previous transaction, consumer fraud information, or you can say more options.
Customer service. I Just want to talk to a person.
Members now earn points twice as fast and enjoy an expanded list of transfer fee discount rewards.
Rachel
To review details of the
made
program,
me laugh.
enroll, or redeem points, please visit wuu.com.
Rachel says a verbal colonoscopy to send money at Western Union. That's funny.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh,
Do you
God.
have a... Sorry, but I'm still having some trouble.
Operator.
Let's use your... Sorry, but I'm still having some trouble. Please hold while I transfer you to the next available representative. For quality purposes, this call may be recorded or monitored. In our ongoing effort to maintain superior customer service, we are offering a survey to our valued customers. If you would like to participate in this survey after you finish speaking with the representative, press 1 now. To decline, press 2 or remain on the line for the next available representative. If you are calling for information or assistance in sending a money transfer using your credit or PIN-less debit card, press 1. For any other assistance, press 2 or hold for the next available representative. For quality purposes, this call may be recorded or monitored.
Hi, good morning. I'm calling to ask some questions about your money, Western Union online services.
What do you mean?
Just general questions about how it works. Are you able to help me?
Okay, actually, are you a customer or are you an agent? Because you call an agent support department.
Oh no, I'm a customer.
You're a customer.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you can go, if you want to set that online, you can go to westernunion.com, Western Union Online. Or if you want to use your app phone, you have to download the application of Western Union application. And you can use both. For example, if you want to pay with a debit card, you can pay with a debit card or credit card. You don't have to go nowhere. Just you can do it from home.
Okay.
Or,
Let me.
If you want to.
Uh-huh.
If you want to do it over your app phone, you can switch you can have the option to pay cash. It means you have to go to a location.
Okay.
You have to pick a location on your app phone where you want to go and pay it out, so they can give you the NPC number.
Okay, let me just ask you a question. If I live in the Cayman Islands, for example, would I be able to send money from the Cayman Islands to Jamaica using your online or your app?
Yeah, if you can download it, yeah, man. Yeah. If you can download it, yeah.
Okay, so there's no restrictions about like requiring a U.S. address only as a sender?
No, not that I know, man. Like I said, if you can download it and you can try it, and it let you go through. I mean, yeah. But like I said, for that you're gonna have to pay with a debit or a credit card, man.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Because I don't know some of those agencies they have the services that you can pay cash, but yeah, like I said, Miss Andrea, if you can download the application, you can try it.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to check it out because we have a little situation here where the money services businesses are closed because of the COVID-19 lockdown. So if we can do it online, that would be a lot easier, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for
Okay.
You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, folks. According to our Western Union agent there, he seems to think, and sometimes a little bit iffy about their information. Anytime you call these agents, they're like, yeah, because they've never lived anywhere else but the U.S. So when you start sending stuff, it like, oops, there's that limitation. But he seems to think that you can send without any limitation. So, all right. We're going to keep looking into this, folks, because I think this is great. You know, they seem to have a lot of options, so it would be wonderful if that's available. I'm literally gonna test it out, but the only thing is, like I said, I have already entered a US address. So it's not going to be quite the same for me because I won't be putting in a Cayman address. But maybe it just doesn't matter. Like it says here, you can select your country, and they do have a bunch of countries listed here. I mean, I have mine as the US, but again, it doesn't have Cayman listed or any of the Caribbean, but it does have like the major countries like the UK, Canada, and so on. So let's continue to check this out because this could possibly be a workable solution for those of you who are trying to send money overseas and you do have access to a debit card. And again, if there's anybody out there who's listening to this, if you have used the Western Union app to send money from Cayman to Jamaica, to Honduras, to other places in the Caribbean, please let us know. So thanks for the clarification, guys, and Victoria Mutual, that is a bank or a building society. I had no idea who they were. So appreciate that. So yes, you would need a debit card. Places are closed. So I think you mean like places are closed in Jamaica to send money to, possibly. So that's not going to really help you either way. Because even if we were open here and they're closed in Jamaica, people still can't get money. Irvlin said, this is why I love watching your program. Rachel says, he kind of sounds like he isn't sure to me. And I kind of felt that too. Like, I'm like, I'm not really 100% sure. So Anne says she doesn't see any chaos. So we'll get to that here in a minute. Rachel says, thank God I screen record this. I'm not sure what you screen recorded, but Dion says, I've been trying the app on the phone, and it doesn't work from Cayman. So can you tell us, Dion, exactly what's happening when you try to do it? Like, why isn't it working? Because I'm curious to know. My first transaction, I'm going to do online. So I'm going to do it on the computer. And then maybe for the second one, I will see about maybe using the app. But like I said, I do believe for me, because I've already set up my profile, using a US address, that it's not going to quite be as precise as what people here would be doing. So it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so Irvelin says very informative, and this is no fake news. This is an alert going out, folks, from our transmission to your brain. No fake news alert. Thank you, Irvelin. Noelle says it doesn't work. I tried it before. Noelle, do we know why it doesn't work? Because I'm just kind of wondering now, maybe not everyone has access to a US address, but in my case, I do, and I was able to send to the US. So does that mean that because I do have a US address, like, is that the determining factor? Can I now send to Jamaica? Curious, because maybe there are people in Cayman, Jamaica, Honduras, whatever, that do have relatives in the States. Are they able to send? But here in Cayman, we're not able to send because we don't have a US address. Because I use my CNB debit card, no issues. They call, they verify, they ask me a bunch of questions. Jonathan says, I like the idea of calling up experts to assist the questions you were asked. Thank you, Jonathan. Get it from the source, honey. That's the only way to do it. And, we have access to, we can call a US number without any additional fees. And I know a lot of people might not necessarily be able to call Western Union direct. What the Western Union man just said cannot work. I tried it before and it did not work. You have to have a US address and a US debit card. So Joshua, I can vouch for the fact that I use my Cayman card. So I don't have a US debit card. Now, she did ask me, she said something like, during this interrogation, she said something like, are you traveling or are you overseas? And I said, well, I have the card that I'm using is a Cayman Islands debit card. She said, oh, okay. Because, they can see that when they're processing transactions, they can see where the actual card was issued from. And after I confirmed that it was a Cayman Islands debit card, she was like, oh, okay, fine. So I think you're partially correct, maybe in the US address part, but I use my Cayman debit card. And of course, I have that linked to my US address. So maybe. Rachel said the same thing I heard. FedEx delivering to island by air. Yes. So I want to talk about this actually, because we posted something yesterday about CICA, which is Caribbean, what do they stand for again? Cayman Islands Customs Agency. And I'm really frustrated because I've had a shipment now with them going into a month that I can't seem to get, and they can't tell me when I'm going to get my shipment. And to me, that's just unacceptable. So I've heard all kind of excuses. Basically, what they're claiming is that the government has not authorized them to clear packages that are not essential goods. So only medicine, and I don't even know if they actually said grocery supplies, but only medicine or whatever. The problem with that is I don't understand why CICA would be any different than anyone else, because FedEx can bring in your packages. Just a couple days ago, I got a package from FedEx. I went into their location. They do have social distancing protocols in place. So only so many people allowed in to their location at a time. They've got the markers, a little tape on the floor. The people are wearing their gloves and masks and whatever. So I'm thinking, if FedEx can open up, if mailboxes, etc., who's not bringing in, I'm sure, groceries for people, if they can allow people to come in and get stuff, what then is the issue with CICA? And I've had numerous people contact me since that post went up to say that they are also having an issue. And this isn't the first time they've said that they've had an issue with CICA. Seem to be taking a really long time to get them their goods, and there always seems to be some excuse involved. So there's a couple people on the live stream that was going on and on about it, defending CICA, saying, well, it's their corporate decision. And I'm thinking, well, why would they make a decision that's going to be detrimental to their customers? Like, that doesn't really sound like good business to me, especially in a time like this when we're all quarantined. Like, what I have there, I personally need to do my work as a news reporter. And so it's cramping my work life as an essential service. So, and even so, other people need their stuff so that they can stay home. So it's very, very frustrating. And the last response I got from them, I actually said, can you give me some indication of when, I don't know if they've not applied to government to get this new status thing sorted out, where they can become, where they have the permission. I'm confused. I honestly do not understand what it is that they're saying and what is really going on. And I really wish, they send these long emails that even for me, who has a friggin' English degree, I read them and I'm like, you have used a whole lot of words to say basically nothing. And you've only muddled the waters even more. So I am thoroughly confused about what's going on at CICA. All I want to know is, why don't you have, like every other company, other companies have told me that because the port was busting at the seams, literally, with all of these containers and stuff, they were like, listen, come and clear your goods, pick up your containers, get your stuff. And they actually gave them permission to do that, and then to distribute it out to customers. So I do believe that they can deliver, and I don't see what the issue with that would be. So if you guys know anything about CICA, let me know. They're the only ones. FedEx, No problem. In and out, get your package, you're done. Someone else mentioned that they got a package from, hold on, let me tell you. So Jennifer says that, so why can other companies deliver non-essential but CICA can't? And that's the question. And then this person, Laura, was saying, well, how do you know that for sure? Well, because they've said so in their emails, and other companies have said, and they are delivering. And I don't think these other companies, they're reputable companies, they would not be doing so unless they actually had permission. So everyone else has permission, mailboxes, etc. I can't even think of all the names of the other companies right now, but you guys know who they are. Miracle Brokers, all these other companies do not seem to have an issue delivering. So someone said Hyde's Shipping, they got something through them. Another person confirmed that they ordered something and they received it with DHL. So what is it about CICA that does not allow people to get their packages? I'm confused. Jason says the Western Union rep sounds like a Jamaican scammer putting on a fake accent. Lord have mercy, Jason. Some people don't understand, and I think that's the problem. Melissa, understand what is the question? So yes, FedEx is working. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Odette, Annie, Tyree. Annie says, come on now, chaos time now, please. Annie, we're waiting on a guest to join us who's in Jamaica. That's why we can't have that discussion quite yet, but soon come. And everybody has a different definition of chaos, so we can see exactly what is meant by that. Ethel says, love you. Keep up the good work for Islands. Though I'm in the UK, Cayman is and will always be my home. Stay safe and blessed, everyone. Thank you so much, Ethel. How are things in the UK, by the way? How are things going there? Give us a little snippet into your life in the UK. We'd love to have you on the program if you want to join us. You can tell us all about that. What delivery companies are open? So Shania, when you say delivery companies, do you mean food, delivery companies, or delivery companies like CICA? So if you could clarify. Sandra says, I've used CICA twice before this pandemic and it was nothing but trouble. Both times they had the same runaround excuses. So this is my thing. Maybe their issues have absolutely nothing to do with COVID-19. Maybe they've got staffing issues or they have something else going on. And Sandra, you're not the only person that has said that to me. I have had somebody else that I'll read you his comment so that you guys can see that I'm not making this stuff up. I don't know the family that owns CICA. I've been getting their emails and I'm trying to ask them very direct and pointed questions, and I'm simply not getting an answer. So here's what somebody else had to say yesterday after a post went up about the CICA thing. They said, let me just see, this is on WhatsApp. They said, at least someone raised the voice now. Oh, wait, let me go up a little bit further. Just on the container offloading, I've been waiting since 3 weeks to get my goods from the US through CICA. They told me today that they're only allowed to unload essential goods like medicines and food items. And for the past 3 weeks, that's all you're getting? Like, come on. We don't have a shortage of medicines or food items, so I don't know why CICA would still be seeing that as a priority and that's all that is being shipped in. Anyway, let me continue what he says. But the other items have to wait until the lockdown is over. That's why so many containers are piling up at the facilities. On the other hand, mailboxes in Cayman Bay is delivering all the goods to their customers. Doesn't matter if it's essential or not. That does not make any sense. Once lockdown is over, the work to unload these containers will be overwhelming. And so I said, I feel like something just isn't adding up here because no one else has this excuse that they can't even offload a container. I said FedEx is working, Miracle Broker is working, mailboxes, etc. Everybody else is working, DHL. everyone but CICA? I said, come on now, that sounds a little ridiculous. And then they replied and said, at least someone raised the voice now. But somehow I believe them, because if I was them, I would not want my containers. I would have my containers unloaded ASAP due to many reasons, but the biggest is that dead money is sitting around and minimum income to come in. But offloading the container, the premier said weeks ago, is essential. And I'm telling you, the port director has told other companies like CICA, come and get your containers, because we cannot have this type of capacity just sitting, even of non-essential goods. Because listen, we live in a country where every single thing is imported in. So even if they just clear food and medicine, you know how much other stuff is there? I mean, everything we bring in, furniture, cars, like everything is imported in. So then this person goes on to say, that's all crazy. But yes, for me also, I will never use them again. This morning they told me that my goods are not here yet. But I know from Deluxe Freight, who they use in the US, that those items arrived on the 24th. So why would CICA be telling a customer that goods that arrived on the 24th are not here yet? Then the person goes on to say, and this is in line with what Sandra has said about having issues in the past, this person said, they always lie. I never had a shipment without lying. And I don't know how many shipments they've had. They go on to say, and I just had a lot of shipments because I'm renovating my entire apartment. And so according to them, every single time, even before COVID-19, they have felt like the staff at CICA have been lying to them. And this is unfortunate. This is a Caymanian-owned company. You can never really get a hold of the management in terms of picking up a phone and calling them. But I would like to invite them on the program for them to really explain this to the people of the Cayman Islands, because they are a big company in terms of people use their services a lot. And I did a consolidated shipment myself from Deluxe in Miami, and literally it's like a month later and I still don't have my goods. And to me, that's unacceptable. Sandra says that Aeropost is delivering. Yep. I don't know what the issue is. Noel says the only way to send money right now is through wire transfers from bank to bank. However, it's kind of expensive. I'm with Butterfield, and when I asked, they said it was like $80 to transfer $2,000, which would be like $27 otherwise. Yeah. So Noel, I think in terms of the fees, you need to kind of play around with it a little bit, because I sent some funds, about $1,200 through PayPal to the US. PayPal charged me $53 and change US, which is kind of expensive. And when I went back and checked it, had I used had I used CNB to send that, it would have been way cheaper than that. It would have been like $37. So not way cheaper, but because when you do the exchange rate, it still would have been cheaper, right? Now with Western Union, it again is a sliding scale depending on how much you're sending. So to send $300, it was only $15, which isn't that bad. So, if I had only maybe $500 to send, it would make sense. And again, I think it's by destination, but it would make sense for me to use Western Union online if that option is available to me, because I'm actually saving over what the local banks would charge me. Because I think their minimum fee is $37 no matter how much you're actually sending. So does that make any sense? So Tyree says, Noel, it's true, and it takes about 2 weeks for people to get their money. So sending it to the States, it's only taken 2 days. And I will confirm with that person once they've received their money. So Tyree, do you mean that it takes 2 weeks if you send it from a local bank, like Butterfield or CNB? That sounds like a really long time. Also depends on the transfer being released from the US banks. Because I think our banks go through, and again, I don't know about sending from a Cayman bank to a Jamaican bank, but I know that we go through intermediaries normally to get to other banks. So our intermediary, I think for CNB, one location is a New York bank. I can't remember which one it is. If it's, oh God, what's the bank in New York? Bank of America maybe. But we've got intermediaries, I think, both on the West Coast and East Coast. But I know for sure one is in New York. And so, yeah, they act as a clearinghouse. It gets routed there first and then wherever else. So I don't think that it goes directly to like bank to bank kind of thing. People in the US have such an easier life in terms of their banking system because it's a unified banking system. That's why they can have like the routing code thing set up. Here in Cayman, every bank has its own system. So they have their own, that's why like Bank of Butterfield, if you notice, their account numbers are like a million numbers long. CNB, they do a 00, a 011 or 012 dash, and then a shorter number. There's no unified system in place for banks in the Cayman Islands. And this is one of the reasons why even cashing checks takes longer than anywhere else in the world. I mean, in the States, you get your app, you go to Bank of America, you scan it on your phone, boom, it's in your account within minutes. Because of that unification of the banking system in the States and the technology that they now have, they can check that other person's account within minutes to make sure that they've got the money there that they claim that they have. I don't know if anybody in the States still uses checks, but I remember back in the day when you used to write checks down at the bottom, all of that information at the bottom of your checks actually meant something. So it was your routing number, your bank account number, and there's like a level of consistency no matter who you banked with or who you got your checkbooks from. All of that information was consistent across the board. So Sherry says, my dear, that's a lot charged. A lot of people don't have that money to send it. So crazy. So I don't know if you're referring to Western Union or if you're referring to Bank of Butterfield, who's charging $80 to send $2,000. Noel, I'm curious, where were you sending money to, by the way? Where was that $2,000 going? Was that like going to the States? Was that going to the Caribbean or Latin America? Okay, so some good news. Nicaragua. If you are Nicaraguan and you have called the emergency line, you should have received an email by now. We put the story up where you can now leave the Cayman Islands on Saturday. So folks, start packing your bags and get ready to go. So essentially you can pack up, get ready to go, and yeah, let's get on it. I have someone messaging me about the the Dominican situation. Okay. Let me see. So, yes, if you're from Nicaragua, they're going to have a flight on Saturday. I don't know what the time is. $350. And you can get off of this island and go back home. So they're going to start doing some of these flights now. So please, you need to pay attention. If you have not, for some reason, already called, and this is why it's important that you actually call that emergency line. Because how they're going to do it is once they have a flight booked, they will then email those persons first to say, hey, you've got 24 hours. Give this number a call or go to Cayman Airways, book your flight, and you're good to go. If you're not contacting them to be put on the list, then obviously you're going to find out when the general public finds out. And this is why we put it up last night, because we did want people to know who had maybe contacted the emergency travel line. you're on a priority list. So definitely make your arrangements to go. So you get priority, and then after the 24-hour period of giving people 24 hours to call and make their reservations, if they were on the waiting list, then it opens up to everybody else. So it's only $350. I don't know normally how much a ticket to Nicaragua would have cost you, but I'm sure that's a reduced fare, and that's 350 CI. So I didn't know that we actually flew directly to Nicaragua. I don't think it's on our, what do you call it? Like on our flight itinerary or whatever. So I don't think that normally we fly direct. But maybe this obviously is a special situation. All right, so let me see. I'm still waiting on this young lady from Jamaica. I don't know if she went out on the road in Kingston or what's going on. So let me make sure that she's not forgotten us. Sometimes I know when she gets moving, it's a little bit difficult to get back to us. So I do want to show you guys, I'm just pulling up the video here of what we have. She says she's here, but I don't see her in the studio. Yeah, this is why we got to check in here, because I'm waiting on her and it looks like she's waiting on me and I don't see her anywhere. So I'm waiting on her to click the link to join the show. And then when she does that, so while she's doing that, Noelle just clarified that that was to send money to Jamaica. Yeah, that is a lot of money, $80. So very expensive. There you are, Danica. Now you're here. I was waiting for you. I'm like, where did she go? Did she go out on the road or what's going on? So, okay. So before Danica comes in, she's again joining us from Kingston, Jamaica. So if you guys missed it before, Danica is our correspondent reporter for the region now. She's stationed in Jamaica. I do want to bring up a video that someone sent last night of kind of what the situation is there. And then, of course, I want Danica to put that in context for us so that we know what's going on. So Danica, just in a minute, we'll find out exactly what's going on. Because we use the word chaos, a lot of people are like, no, that's not correct. So JD confirmed that there's not normally a direct flight to Nicaragua. They normally have to, I think, yes, they normally have to go through Honduras. But of course, because the Honduras borders are closed, that's not possible. But I think because of the proximity between Cayman and Nicaragua, Cayman Airways has the ability to fly directly there. So it seems like they've worked out something with their government where that's possible. Okay, so let me bring up this video. Yes, okay. So this is what someone sent me last night in terms of what's happening in Jamaica. So last night, the Jamaican Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, announced that because of an outbreak at a facility, we'll let Danica give us all the details of that. Basically, St. Catherine is going in a complete lockdown until at least the 22nd for an entire week. So having given people the notice that it was going to happen this morning at 5 o'clock, it seems like there was a mass exodus immediately from St. Catherine. And so we'll have, again, Danica give us those details, but here's the video that we received. So I'm going to bring this up on screen for you guys to see here. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to take myself out of the screen. There we go. And then you guys can view this. It's just a couple seconds long.
Alright, watch out now. They're funny tool. I leave them people here, I leave Portmore here now in a Kingston, them are going to watch them. Watch them. Where's the most traffic I go down, I go in a Kingston. More than traffic I get from Portmore tool. Leave them and leave Portmore. And them here said catching lockdowns and they were left.
Okay. So, let me just close this here. All right, so let's get this put into context. Danica, thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you for joining the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So give us a little breakdown of what transpired yesterday in Jamaica. Why did the Prime Minister feel that this lockdown was necessary? And then from your perspective, I know last night you said it was pure chaos. What do you mean by that and what was going on? I'm going to give you the mic in full screen for a minute while I go and grab some water. So you just keep talking and filling us all in.
No problem. Go ahead. So last night, basically what happened was that the Prime Minister announced that St. Catherine, which is one of the most populous parishes in Jamaica, would be under a lockdown, with the exception of the usual essential workers. That being the case, what happens is that people started to flee almost immediately. Now, this is at about 6:30 to 7 o'clock, because that's when the announcement was made, because we usually have a press conference every day. Well, not every day, but when there's major news. And since the other day, there's been major news.
Sorry, Danica, just one quick thing. A few people are saying that there's an echo on your side. I don't know if you have, normally this is a mic setting kind of thing, so you probably have it where you're hearing yourself through your computer.
So I just turned it off.
Yeah, I think if you turn that off, that should be fine.
Can you still hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Tamika says it's echoing badly, so let us know if that's an improvement. I don't know if you have a headset either, because sometimes plugging that in, but I think if you mute it, it should be good. So let's just try it again.
Are you still able to hear?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you.
Still without the echo?
Well, I'm not hearing an echo, so I'm just waiting for other people to confirm. If they're, let me just check and see.
Right. So I don't know what you guys thought, so let me back up for a bit. Yesterday around 7 to 7:30, the press conference got going late. Initially, it started off with the Prime Minister and then the Minister of Health and then the Minister of National Security. What was announced at this conference was basically that the parish of St. Catherine would be closed down. It would be closing primarily due to the fact that at a call center, Alarica, which is also located in the parish of St. Catherine, there was an outbreak of the coronavirus. Now, if you know how call centers are structured, basically people are very close together. They're also doing things like talking, which we've heard from the World Health Organizations and other places that it's possible that the virus can travel in air droplets. That being the case, people are extremely close together. There was one person at the facility that was confirmed to have the coronavirus. That happened maybe right before we went on Easter break. Within 3 or 4 days, there are 32 positive cases, and the majority of them, with the exception of one, was linked to that call center. So it, to me, is just interesting how the government here closed hairdressers, closed barbershops, but big business, because as you know, in Jamaica, the call centers employ a lot of people. So what has happened is that we have seen still an implosion in the numbers because of this area that was allowed to open. I'm seeing that people are still hearing an echo. Let me see. I have muted my mic on this end. Let me just find out from Sandra why that's the case.
Sorry. Hi. I think this is one of those things where sometimes having like a headset plugged in, but I don't know if you have access to one right now. But going forward, we'll try to get that sorted out, so that it's a little bit better of a situation. So yeah, the general feedback is they're still hearing a lot of echoing on your side.
Oh, well, I muted. Oh, I think I can hear it from your side too. I don't know if it's because I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I think it's one of those things where we'll try to get you sorted out with some kind of headset or something. But okay, well, hopefully people can still hear you. So yes, Roshan, who's tuned in from YouTube, says it echoes, but you can still make out what you're saying. So basically, what you've said is there's been 32 or 34
Well, 32 that have been linked to the call center.
that have been linked to the call center. Now, through my research that I did late last night, there are over 700 persons that work at this call center.
Yes.
And so it is a lot. And there's the
And
potential.
only 200 were tested.
So of the 200 and something tested, 32 have come back positive. So they've not even tested half, basically.
Yes.
So this is a big situation now, because what they have is local transmission of these 32 new cases at this call center.
Well, they're
St.
also
Catherine.
suggesting that it's not local transition because the initial person at the call center that got it was in contact with a confirmed coronavirus person. So, or a confirmed positive.
So why would they have been? So that was someone who had traveled.
Right.
So Shani says turn off your speakers. I think on her end she has, but we'll have to do a test run and kind of sort audio issues out a little bit later on. But yeah, so Jamaica that now increased the numbers to 105. You know, we were having this discussion briefly yesterday where Sue was actually saying that it was a concern that she thought that the Cayman numbers were rivaling Jamaica, and that for such a small island, we seem to have had a lot of confirmed cases. But I reminded her, the thing with Jamaica is we don't actually know how many persons Jamaica has tested. So I feel like Jamaica is under testing people. They're not testing as many people. Do you know, I've not seen any figures anywhere in my research, overall for the 105 cases that they now have, what percentage, like how many people have they actually tested? I mean, we know for the call center that they've tested
for the call
200.
center specific, but outside of the call center, I was told that at least 1,500 people had been tested. Now, if you compare that with the population size of 3 million, that's not a lot. However, what they did initially is when they had patient zero, they closed down the area that patient zero was in, and they tested people there in that specific community. Outside of that, they had another outbreak in another area and they closed down that area. They were relying on the method where they closed down sections of the country. Because remember, Bobe was closed down. A section of Corn Piece in Fireman was also closed down. So that was their management plan because of how they had closed the ports. And also because a lot of Jamaicans coming from the United States and other places were not allowed in. Or if they were allowed in, they were immediately quarantined. So remember, we don't have a high expat population. We mostly have diaspora people. And those were the people that brought it here originally. The first lady was from London. So what they had done was focused on closing individual areas rather than do a whole bunch of testing. I think initially everybody was relying on HARPA. So if you don't have HARPA in the picture, you had to wait until you got your own test kit. So I think that's where some of the confusion started. I think why numbers might be a little bit different for the Cayman Islands is just because Cayman also has a higher volume of people moving between the country, and they also have a high expat population. The same is not necessarily true for Jamaica, but we do have a large diaspora, and they do live in areas that are affected, and that was the initial issue.
Right. Okay, so I have plugged in. I don't know if this makes a difference, and I'm trying to see if you guys can let me know. I have plugged in my headset, which means that because I do have a speaker here by the computer, so this is all kind of tech stuff. Again, I want to give a shout out to King yesterday who helped me test my audio because apparently I was sounding like a man yesterday on the show. Something weird was going on with my mic. So I do have an external mic that I use. I have an external DSL camera that I use. So there's a lot of working components to what I'm doing on this end. And I know for you, you're using a laptop, your connection, your setup is a lot simpler. So I just was thinking about some of the comments that someone said about the speakers. And so I'm realizing that I have a speaker here that's picking you up, and that's also being fed back through my microphone.
Okay.
So although you've now turned your speaker off on your end, what I have now done is I've actually plugged in my headset to basically mute the speaker being picked up by the mic. So I'm plugged into the mic's monitoring headset system. If that makes any sense. If it doesn't, I think that has solved the problem. Because Carlita says better. Yes, Jake says that once I plugged in my headset, it went away. JD confirms that worked. So thank you guys so much. Sometimes we got to think a little bit about the technology that we're using. But now Anne says that my demon voice is back. My man voice is back. So I think, unfortunately, it's weird, but I think that does that make a difference? Is that any better? I think that when I'm monitoring it through the headset jack, that, yes, it impacts this is so weird though. I don't know why it would, but it seems to impact, this is where I need King because he's like my audio expert here. This is where now it seems to impact the, let me turn down this instrument button. You guys have to tell me if you notice any improvements. Yeah, so it does seem to impact my voice quality if I'm using the headphone jack at the same time. Super weird because that shouldn't be the case, but I don't know.
Wow.
So the choices are demon voice, according to Jerian, man voice, according to Anne. Yes, Sherry Ann, I'm sounding like a man. Yeah, so it's that or the echo, which means then we can't hear her. So Anne says it's fine now. Anne, let me just clarify what you mean by that. Does that mean I'm no longer sounding like a man? Because what I did was I did turn down this little instrument button. Seymour Ramsey says that I sound fine on YouTube. So I don't know. But I did turn on the instrument button, so I'd be curious to know if that makes a difference or not. Let me just send King a quick message. All right, so yeah, so basically because of this situation, I see someone sending me something about here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so because of this situation in St. Catherine, the Jamaican Prime Minister has decided to basically lock down St. Catherine completely.
Right.
And
not
Kingston, St.
Pardon?
Catherine, outside of Kingston, St. Catherine is the biggest next area of Jamaica.
I'm gonna say something, and it's going to be controversial.
Yes. Okay.
It was once said that St. Catherine is where half of Jamaica's population lives. half of 2.9 or whatever, 3 million people live in Portmore. That's what they said. Not just St. Catherine, but Portmore. And Portmore is the biggest city in St. Catherine. You have St. Catherine comprising of areas such as Spanish Town, Portmore, Linstead. That is basically St. Catherine. And they've said that half, and by this was said by a surveyor at some point. It's not an official government surveyor, but this was said that half of Jamaica's population lives in Portmore. Now, if you know anything about Jamaica, the majority of new housing complexes go up in Portmore. That's where a lot of people live. A lot of people who work in Kingston commute from Portmore. So it's also one of those areas that's described as a suburbs because you do have relatively cheaper housing than in Kingston. Because in Kingston, you can get an apartment for about $100,000 US. In Portmore, you can get a whole house for that money. So you do have a large section of the population that lives in Portmore. You also have a move to move people out of coming to Kingston. That's why a lot of call centers are now in Portmore. They have shopping malls. It's like a township unto itself. The only thing that Portmore doesn't have, which is extremely strange, is a hospital. So a lot of people are living in this area, and it is alarming that the government of Jamaica didn't think that this was going to become a problem by keeping what we call BPO, business processing outsourcing center, open, because that's where a lot of people are employed. And unfortunately, they are sitting in such close proximity to each other, doing things like talking, which we've heard can be extremely dangerous, particularly because of the spread, in the way in which the virus is spread. So the government right now has been getting a lot of backlash from people saying, why were BPOs allowed to be opened when hairdressers, which could limit the amount of people that come in, barbershops, which could limit the amount of people that come in, were told strictly that they must close?
Okay, so let's back up a little bit here because this is a very interesting situation. So, first of all, Henry says CMR yesterday I let my anguish with the numbers get a hold of me. I appreciate your outlet and want to apologize for lashing out. You're simply doing your job, and what you deliver will not always be what viewers want to hear. Henry, I don't even know what you're talking about. So it helps to be very forgiving when I have no clue what you're talking about. But again, we understand that people do get very emotional at times like this. People get in their feelings. And so, Henry, we are not going to use that against you, whatever it was. I don't even know. I don't recall seeing a comment. So I don't know if it was during the morning show, if it was in the evening show, if it was some other post. It's really difficult. And I think that Danica can probably confirm this. I mean, she's just joined the CMR family. But it is often very difficult to keep up with all of the messages across the various platforms. I'm monitoring Instagram. WhatsApp obviously is like hundreds of people. Facebook, a lot of people sending private messages, commenting and whatever. So, I mean, we have over, a new number, 26,600 followers on Facebook alone. And then we have another 12,600 on Instagram. So, a lot of times you guys will be getting in debates and stuff with each other. And you have to know that, quite honestly, we don't have any idea what you guys are talking about. We don't get into it. Oftentimes, somebody said something the other day, but, sometimes we stir the shit, or we put up something, we stir the pot, and then we just, leave the conversation or whatever. It's not about stirring the pot and leaving the conversation. We report the news, whether you guys like it or not. And at the end of the day, we don't have the time. It would be, highly unlikely that we have the time, even with multiple administrators on the platform, to just sit down and monitor all of your comments. We ask you to be responsible. You know, we're all adults here. Even if you're upset about something or you have an opinion, there's a certain way that you can express that and share your opinion without always going at each other's throats and cursing each other out and whatever. But literally, there are times when I'm just going to give you guys an example. Last night's Q&A, this was a 1 hour long show. We had 199 comments, 30 shares, and 8.6 thousand views. For the daily government press briefing that was earlier in the day, that one had over 417 comments. So nobody is sitting down reading your 417 comments. So sometimes if you slip in something, Henry, we appreciate an apology. Just know that, we don't even have time to be looking at it a lot of times. And some of these posts are reaching thousands of persons, and it is what it is. So whatever, don't worry about it. Just behave yourself going forward. That's all I can tell you. That's good advice. And so Danika's explained to us that at the end of the day, the situation in St. Catherine, the Prime Minister's coming under a little bit of fire there, because the question is, why would you allow a call center that has a staff registry of 787 workers, so almost 800 people, to be open in Jamaica when this again is in Portmore, when other smaller businesses that could have managed the flow of traffic and manage their clientele a little bit easier, they were forced to shut down. So when did the businesses, what was the directive? Because I think this is weird, because here in the Cayman Islands, once we had a shutdown, it was like, okay, everybody's shutting down, businesses, whatever. So unless you have a special exemption to allow certain workers in and out, your business isn't open. So when was the decision made in Jamaica to actually shut down businesses? How long ago was that?
Well, here's the thing. Nobody is quite clear on what the plan was going forward, because initially we were put under what is called a Disaster and Emergency Act, which effectively gave the authorities special powers. Initially, people were allowed to go out and do things like the hairdresser, the supermarket, any sort of business. However, throughout the weeks, we've been hearing to refrain from going to hairdressers, refrain from going to barber shops. If they do open, you should be within a certain amount of feet from each other, maintaining social distance. However, nobody's quite sure, because our orders have changed daily. So over the weekend, as you know, we had a curfew, which meant that we had to be indoors by 3:00. Last night, we had to be indoors by 9:00. So there is no one linear policy, and this varies from region to region, because nobody is quite sure why that's the case. I think personally it creates more confusion and chaos. So I'm not sure why some businesses were told to close. I'm not even sure which businesses were told to close and why that happened. Nobody's quite clear on that. So it's not that we're saying BPOs shouldn't have been open. I'm just saying, why weren't they one of the first places that we closed? Because we all know the setup of the BPO. And by the way, the reason why we don't say call center, I say call center, but everybody in the society would call it a BPO, because apparently a call center has a bad stigma. But the bad stigma is precisely why it should have closed, because people here think of it as sweatshop labor, and it's people crammed together in a tiny space talking. And it is very, very dangerous, because this is particularly an environment in which a virus like the coronavirus would thrive. And so nobody's quite clear, Sandra. Nobody really knows why some businesses were not dissuaded from operating. And the Prime Minister in his defense last night, was very clear to point out that there's 40,000 people employed in this industry, 10,000 of which have been able now to work from home. I don't know that that gives anybody any sort of good feeling inside, but he stressed that point several times. I don't know why it was stressed, because to me, 1,000 people in a call center that have spiked the numbers from 71 to 105 is ridiculous. And I don't know why it is that we thought that that was good news, because nobody felt comforted by that. We just thought, oh my God, here are 32 people that live in a place, or should live in the place, because a lot of people do commute from other parishes to Portmore to find jobs, because we now have lovely highways in Jamaica, which means that Ocho Rios is a 20 minutes drive from Portmore. So we don't really know where all these people live. The staff registry can say anything, but we also know that BPOs have a high turnover rate. So how many people really work there? There's a lot of unknown, and that's the problem with Jamaica. The society is not structured well enough that you can have accurate information. The staff registry says 787, but when was that staff registry actually taken? When was the last time it was updated? Nobody knows. People move in and out of the BPO with ease. It's like a supermarket. Don't like it, you quit, you move on. So it's just not known. There's too many unknowns, and that's what's causing a lot of the problems here in Jamaica, just the unknown of the situation.
Right. Wow. So that's a lot of people. I mean, we have, just by comparison, and I think this is one of the points that our local premier was saying yesterday, because of our population size being so small, Cayman then has the ability to really try to control the spread of this disease. Because we don't have any companies here with 700 employees. I would think that our largest company here would probably be some of the law firms like a Maples and Calder, and maybe they have 400 or 500 employees, I would garnish to think. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know they have a couple hundred lawyers. So say each lawyer has 1 or 2 support staff, just double that. And maybe you've got 500 people working in a single multi-tier building. Having said that, so for the call centers, people, some of those have been able to have staff work remotely, which is good. I would imagine, though, again, what we know about call centers, like you said, people don't even want to call them that because they have been associated with some of the biggest scams coming out of Jamaica, the lotto scam and scamming the elderly people and all of these big time, FBI investigations and stuff out of the States. So a lot of people get into the call center business just to get their fingers on that call center list, because apparently that list is considered the golden egg. If you can get a call center list, then you can start scamming people and virtually become a millionaire overnight in that illegal industry. So I suspect a lot of people get into the business to try to see how far up they can go. And it's been proven that a lot of supervisors and managers who are working in these call center businesses, they were the ones who acquired the list and then either sold it on to, the dons in their area, gangsters in their area, or they kept it for themselves and they tried to establish a lotto scamming ring of their own. So having said that, I kind of wonder about the logistics and the safety and the whole scammer component of people even working from home. Like if I was operating a call center, I could understand the concern of allowing people to work remotely because,
Well, here's the problem. That's a separate issue. If it is that your business cannot be conducted from home
yeah.
because of the concerns that you have, close it down. That's the alternative. But here's also another factor. Many of these call centers, based on how they're set up legally, are also handling information that really can't be taken outside of the space that they have provided on paper. So that's another aspect of it. So you have SEC registrant companies. Can you really be working from that in the privacy of your own home? No. Another problem with these call centers is they didn't have a contingency plan. Had this been an earthquake, what would have happened? Would workers be forced to work from home? Nobody knows. I just don't know how you could set up such a business and not be prepared for an act of God. And this is an act of God. And because it is an act of God, it's highlighting that the way we're doing business in Jamaica is not sound. And by that, I mean, you should have a contingency plan that can hold you over for 4 or 5 days. I get that this is well past 4 or 5 days, but you are also to have some sort of cushion for your workers to say, this is what happens in the event of a disaster. People knew that this was a reality. Pandemics, they're not every day, but businesses, when they set up their business plan, they go through a stage where they talk about, okay, if an earthquake happens and you're unable to, this is what we have in place.
Yeah,
It is absurd to me that we are now talking about this at the 11th hour. You knew when Italy, the United States, other places were taking certain types of measures that this could be a reality. Our economy is reliant on tourism. It was going to get here. It was just a matter of when. You're telling me that nobody thought, okay, but you might not be able to come to work. We saw it happen in China. Why wasn't there a conversation to say, okay, we're going to install these types of equipment into your house. These are the areas that you can use for the call center. That conversation didn't happen. And what's happened is, because we are a poor country, we've allowed call centers to thrive because it's cheap labor. It absorbs a lot of people. But we haven't really talked about or thought about the long-term implications of having these centers here. The problem is, many of the people that work in call centers also live in certain communities where they might not have access to reliable broadband. Whose fault is that? So what kind of trade-offs are we making in allowing these people to set up shop? Sometimes concessions are given in terms of taxes, and yet the people that work there are the working poor. So it comes back down to, you have to build a sound system. Nothing, and that sound system, guys, I'm not talking about stringing up a sound box. I mean a sound system in terms of the way we move forward with work. Work is one of those areas that we haven't touched. Sugar, bananas, tourism are all things that we just flooded people into. We never stopped to say, let's look at the long-term implications of what we're doing. And what this virus is proving is that economies all across the Caribbean are not sound. They're not sound. Even just across the way, St. Lucia, they were one of the first places to shut down. And we saw what happened there. They're trying to start to reopen, and they have an economic need to reopen. I think it's way too quick to start reopening because of where they are positioned, especially close to places like Martinique, which have well over 100 cases allegedly, based on the numbers that we're getting. That is just crazy. So we have to start, as we move forward, thinking about the way in which we are really conducting business in the region. Maybe we need to move away from being so reliant on foreign capital, which is coming, but it's also coming at a cost. And the cost is that we have very limited control over our economy. We've just been destroyed because tourism is gone. So what's our alternative? And just to clarify about the hairdressers and barbershops, there were restrictions on hairdressers as of March 25th. Those restrictions weren't exactly clear, but what I'm understanding is many hairdressers and barbers decided that they would close because they were told that they could not have more than 2 people waiting in the salon at any given time, which effectively meant that many of them found it extremely difficult to operate because essentially they still had to pay rent. You can't really pay your rent with just 2 people. I mean, not 10, 2. This is interesting because you go into the supermarkets and nobody's maintaining social distance and there's 30 people in there. I don't know if you're having that problem in the Cayman Islands. Outside, even when you're waiting, the people are this close to you. it's just a mess. So I'm not sure how we came up with these rules and these measures. They weren't really well thought through.
Interesting. Let's just go to a couple comments. I'm just posting something up here that's a little bit of a breaking news
No
situation.
problem. And let me continue to further elaborate on the Portmore situation. So what's going to happen is that, yes, it's a complete lockdown, but given the short notice, some people will be allowed to go for their grocery shopping. It will be done in a similar fashion to the way the Cayman Islands does it. So it's A to M on a particular day and M to Z or Z, depending on whatever pronunciation you're using over there in the Cayman Islands, on a separate day. Outside of that, you are not allowed to leave your home. Essential workers are allowed to leave their home, but they too now must be temperature checked. There are several checkpoints in St. Catherine, which are said to prevent people from leaving, but it's also allowing through traffic. So if you're coming from another parish, you should be allowed to go through the border. How that will work, nobody's quite sure at this time. But what we do know is that people will or should, in theory, be allowed to pass through the parish. Whether we have the resources to really offer such a checkpoint, such a security feature, I don't know. But what I do know is that at these checkpoints, they are equipped. And by they, I mean the police officers are equipped with temperature check machines. They're also allowed to look at IDs. How do you verify these IDs? That's a separate question. Nobody really knows. So as I said, a lot of things are being put into place. The soundness of the plan is critical because the devil is in the details, guys. Let's not be fooled. We can say anything, but the devil is really in the details because people are going to get creative. They're stuck at home. They're going to come up with ways to try to get out. As we saw last night, a lot of people tried to leave. It caused a pileup on the highways. So we do have to.
I mean, I'm not terribly familiar with the geography of Jamaica, right? So we kind of know where Kingston is. What's the distance between Kingston and St. Catherine? Like driving distance normally?
Driving?
Yeah.
Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on which.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So there is one major highway and multiple smaller access roads to get in and out.
Right. So we have a highway or a toll road, which takes you to the back road of the infamous back road of Portmore. If you guys don't know, it's kind of like a prostitution hub. That back road takes you into Portmore, and it's about 5 minutes, 10 minutes from Kingston. That's it. It drives along the Marcus Garvey stretch almost. That's where it would end you out. So you'd be along the ports. So when you're driving on the highway to Portmore, you can see the ports of Jamaica where things come in. And by ports, I mean Kingston, not Kingston Harbor, Kingston wharves. So that's where all the containers of goods and stuff like that come in. That's how you access Portmore from Kingston. There is a longer route to accessing Portmore from Kingston, which is called the Mandela. So now the Mandela Highway basically goes from Kingston's, from right at the edge of Kingston to Portmore. However, this is a little bit of a longer route, but it's relatively 15 minutes without traffic. So the distance that we're talking about are so minuscule. They're not, it's not a lot. What we are finding, though, is that manning these borders could pose incredibly difficult, because one of the things that you have to recognize is not just constant movement, but the fact that a lot of people here don't have an identification card. So you could say you live in Portmore. How do we know that? Your driver's license could say you're a resident of Kingston and St. Andrew. I just don't know how they would come up with a solution to actually prove or verify what people are saying is true. They have temperature guns. Again, these temperature guns, God knows how they're programmed. What we are finding is they might not necessarily be so accurate. And also, we haven't even touched on asymptomatic spread. So, yes, 2 people in the call center had symptoms, but the majority of them did not.
Okay,
So,
so
we
just
could
stick
be
a pin.
potentially.
Yeah, just stick a pin in that. We do have a couple comments and questions. So Marjorie says that the damage is already done. Is the government now looking at closing the other call centers and places that have excess persons working? So what has the Prime Minister said? I don't know how many call centers Jamaica has, but what
A
has the
lot.
Prime Minister said about closing those other
There's
call
no.
centers?
Oh, well, as of last night, there was no definitive action. Many people asked about whether they would be suffering any sort of financial repercussions or other repercussion as a result of what happened at the call center.
Yeah.
As of right
I
now,
did hear him say though, because I was listening to the live, and I did hear him say that they were attempting to um, trace the origins of this, and whoever they thought might have been responsible for this, that they're actually looking at charging them. I did hear him say that.
they are looking at charging the establishment because it couldn't be the individual. They were under employment law. You need to show up for work. If you don't show up for work, you need to have an excuse, i.e., you need to call in sick. You can't just decide willy nilly. The fact is, let's not take the blame off of the government. These call centers are legal to operate. There was no order to close them. So people never had it in the forefront of their minds not to attend. Do you get what I'm saying? So yes, they can trace the origins. You could trace it back to Mary Jones. And Mary Jones, well, I wasn't intact with anybody that had coronavirus. I just showed up at work. I felt my nose split and I coughed and I moved on. She's not thinking that far. These are also low income earners. What are you going to do? Put them in jail? Who does that help? The point is, as Marjorie said, the damage has already been done. As a responsible administration, the BPO or the business process owner should be the person that's held culpable in this situation because they are the ones that are responsible for the layout. People are sitting extremely close to each other. Did the Ministry of Health ever make checks to these call centers to see how close people were sitting? There were complaints. Hey, we're too close to each other. Nobody took these complaints seriously until this happened. So the culpability has to be with the business people because they still encourage work in the time of crisis. And they also understood that their layout was way more than 10 people in a process area, as they call them. And they were sitting way too close to each other, extremely close. I mean, the separator on the screen is how close people sit to each other in the call center. And that's not a feet. That's not 2 feet. That's centimeters away from each other. So the responsibility, which is why I think he's been pushing or stressing the message that 10,000 people are now working from home. So what? The damage has really been done.
Okay, so Annie says every clothes store and many more can close, and the hairdressers I see open and doing hair same way. So I guess that's Annie's observations. Presumably from in Jamaica, people have to do their part and stop jumping the Prime Minister. How can he see all at home? Do your part, Jamaica. Life matters the most. Marjorie says the working poor, perfect choice of words, hashtag facts. Rondine says, how can distance rules be well thought through? Well, I mean, we're all practicing that right now. So just like when you go into the store, someone has put tape on the floor to say you can't, you have to stand here and you have to stand there. And I think that's what she's meaning by distancing rules. And maybe there's certain types of businesses where it is impossible to actually implement social distancing, again, because of their existing layout, and it cannot be modified. And if that is the case, then you shut that business down. The other thing that seems very logical to me is if you have a call center with 787 persons, maybe what you could have done is say we were going to reduce staff down to a third of that, a half of that, so that you don't have 787 persons in any given space at any given time. You have 200 people or 300 people, and then you say pick a call station that is like 6 feet away from the other person. That seems like that could have worked for me. I mean,
That
not
could
everyone at the
work.
call center would have been happy because obviously some people wouldn't be working, but it's better than now having a complete shutdown of an entire parish of 500,000 people.
Listen, it is definitely something, as I said, these things weren't well thought through. And what I mean by that is just that you have a call center. We know that the desks are very close together. They're cubicles. We also know that because inside the call center, you have process areas. So there's a process area here. There's a process area there. They're big rooms that are divided by little desks. Some of them have cubicles, some of them do not. So the layout does not permit social distancing. I agree. You could reduce the staff population and say, okay, you sit on one end and you sit on another end. But I think their business works because of the volume of people handling the volume of calls. I'm not sure. In short, I've also seen that social distancing is not working in supermarkets. I live in Halfway Tree. That's another populous area. There's a lot of people live in Halfway Tree. A lot of people pass through Halfway Tree. You can go into any supermarket. People are standing super close to you. Yesterday alone in the supermarket, a lady asked another to step back. And she said, why? Why are you scorning me? And the lady said to her, don't you hear that we have to be practicing social distancing? She said, a foolishness that I'm have to put my things on the roller. People do not respect other people's space. It's not something that I expect to happen overnight.
That's ignorance, though. So
It
that
is
person doesn't
ignorance.
even understand social distancing.
But there's many people, Sandra, we can show you pictures from supermarkets all across. And I'm not talking about upper class society and lower class society. It's everywhere. People just don't get it. And when you ask them to back up, they will not back up. And I'll give you an example as to why I know people don't really get the logic behind it, because they don't really understand it. If you are in a supermarket and you're cashing one item, the bag packer will still try to take your one item and put into your bag for you, even though you're trying to explain to them, sir, I don't want you to touch my items because I want to limit the amount of people that are on the item. They're looking at you like, what are you on? You're in the supermarket, there are lines on some floors, right? Miss, you're supposed to be standing on the line. They look at you rude.
Shawnette, now, she disagrees. She says that not entirely true. I'm not sure which area she lives in, but when I shop, they do practice social distancing. So maybe Shawnette is having a much better...
Kudos to you, Shawnette. The majority of places, we could go through them, bakeries, not even at the hospital. Not even at the hospital.
So how big, Shawnette is also saying that Portmore isn't the only place in St. Catherine. So
I did explain that.
Catherine?
Pardon?
What else is in St. Catherine that we might know about?
Well, as I explained, St. Catherine is a parish that is comprised of Spanish Town, Linstead, Portmore as major areas. That's what I did say in the beginning. However, the most populous area is Portmore. That's where the majority of people lived or lives. Linstead is less popular, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
when Dean says a prostitution hub, who is this woman?
Everybody can tell you that driving from the toll road, in some instances, you do have to pass through an area called Back Road. Back Road is an area that if you pass there at night, you will see women fully naked on the side of the street. Whatever you want to call that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want to say in
Maybe
regards to that.
I mean we're not trying to get too deep, and I mean people keep reminding me this is Cayman Mall Road, this is not Jamaican Mall Road. So but you know, Cayman and Jamaica as well as some other jurisdictions have very very close connections. So one of the reasons that Danica has joined us as a regional correspondent out of Jamaica is because we get it. A lot of us have family members there. I mean, I've got in-laws who live in, you know, St. Mary and Kingston and, you know, different areas. So I think that a lot of us want to know what's going on. We have a lot of Jamaicans in Cayman as well. And a lot of people want to know what's going on back home. So you may not share her opinion of a particular area being a prostitution hub, but she's saying, hey, that's her opinion. She walks by there and she sees a lot of naked people. So
Everybody knows that.
I don't know what a back road is, but
It's just what they call the area called Port
that yeah.
Henderson Road. Port
There's
Henderson
no
Road is the
need,
official name.
Sophia. Listen, she's entitled to her opinion. Even as a journalist, there's no need to get insulted by it. And there's certainly no need to say that she's a customer at Back Road, kiss my teeth. Like, Jamaicans are very feisty and rude people at times. Trust me.
You know, I'm not bothered, but we could really type in back road on Google and you would see that it's not a lie and it's well known. It's even documented in the newspaper when recently a journalist did do a feature on prostitution and they did go through the back road. So there you go.
So
It's not
Jake
absurd.
says not every call center people sit close to each other. So that she feels like that isn't true. I mean, it would make sense though if you're operating a call center that you're maximizing your space. So I'm pretty sure it's not 6 feet distancing by any stretch of the imagination. Like that's not how call centers work. Like call centers all over the world, even in India, if Dell has a call center, when you pick up the phone, you call down, that little Indian man is calling. They have thousands of people sitting in a call center, and they're literally, it's like any exam room or call center. You're here. The only thing that's dividing you, if you're lucky, is the computer screen, and maybe a little piece of plastic between, and that's how call centers work the world over.
There is a call center in a popular building downtown that I've worked in. They have way more employees than the people of the original occupants of the building. They sit extremely close together. I'm not asking you. This is not a question of if. This is a fact. Most call center workers, I'm not saying all, most sit very close together. Even ones that don't do calls necessarily, the ones that they call KPOs, which are knowledge processing centers, they sit extremely close together. Ones downtown that I know of are extreme, and when I say extremely close, Sandra, I mean 3 departments can be in one process area, which is effectively one room. That room is not 800 square feet. So if the room is not 800 square feet, then you get an idea of how close people could be sitting. And if you're supposed to be 6 feet or at minimum 3 feet away, it is extremely close. So there has to be. And I don't think the call center is IBEZ. I think it's IBEX, but that's another thing. Because I know of IBEX. They are operational downtown waterfront. They are stationed in the Digicel building. They do have another location in Portmore. If they are following protocol, I don't know. I cannot speak to that, but based on the initial layout of most of these call centers, it would be impossible to without reducing your staff complement.
Yes. So people, listen, Danica is Jamaican and she does live in Jamaica, and she has worked for other media outlets in Jamaica. So she knows a little bit. I mean, you know, don't tell the woman she don't know what she's talking about now, because she knows a little bit about what's going on. Again, it might not be, you know, kind of how we know of every single thing that's happening here on Mall Road. It might not be that level of knowledge because Jamaica is so incredibly big, and obviously she's not been in every single call center in Jamaica and that sort of thing. But listen, let me bring you guys some breaking news here on Cayman Mall Road, because you guys know how we do it. As things happen, we bring it to you immediately. So there is in circulation this morning as we speak. I've now received it multiple times. There is a scam email that is being sent around, and I'm going to pull it up here on the screen, that you all need to be mindful of. We've already posted it on our social media platforms. If you receive this email, under no circumstances should you be clicking on any links in the email. This is what we call a phishing or phishing email,
Phishing.
depending on how you want to say it, but you say phishing, yes. So do
Phishing.
not click on this email, because these are people who are trying to either steal your contact, steal your information, and trying to steal something. So under no circumstances should you click on this, and it's being sent out. It seems like the Compass keeps getting hacked. Like, I don't know what their situation is at the moment, but the Compass is, they've been getting a lot of hacks recently, with things apparently coming from them, but then they say it's not really coming from them. So they seem to have some kind of security issue. So if the Compass has your email address, that is why you're receiving this. But it's not really from the Compass, it's from someone else, I think, who's taken control of their system. But basically, what this says, it claims to be from the Water Authority, and it's saying here that the water supply disruption, that the 3 districts in the island are expected to have some sort of an interruption in the scheduled water supply distribution due to contaminated water, COVID-19 viruses in the water. And if you read this, it's not even written very well, so that should be a key that some foreign language person has probably written this. But they claim that this is in the treatment plant. I feel we have not heard anything from the Water Authority as yet, but I do feel 100% certain that this is a phishing email, and you are to ignore it, and do not click on it. Do not forward it. Do not, just leave it alone. And I'm sure by probably late morning, the Water Authority will address that. So just a few other things here. So a few people want to know, Tammy wants to know what you're chatting about. Some people are questioning the information that you're bringing in. So some of the comments, Kelly says, Jesus, calling on the Lord. Helen says, who is this woman? She doesn't know Port Moresby. We read that one already. She's saying, yes, she may not have necessarily been in that particular call center, but she has actually been in call centers. And listen, she's been in a call center more than me, because I've never been in a call center in my life. I just know what I see on TV in terms of the call center. So some of you, apparently they're offended by the back road comment. And then they're saying, leave that. You think that sound good about your own country. Well, listen, this show is called The Cold Hard Truth, Unbothered Neely. So whether it's the back road of Cayman or the back road of Jamaica, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know that we're not about covering things up. I mean, prostitution happens the world all over. We know we have a few Caymanian prostitutes, not really that many, that are native to this country, but we have a few. Most of them have drug-related issues. But for the most part, we import people in,
Well, listen, we don't have to, it's the things that I'm saying are facts. If you Google, Portmore, you Google particularly Port Henderson Road, which is the back road, it does say that this is a place where prostitutes are known to conduct business. And, you can even go to a Gleaner article of just a couple years ago that says they lurk in the dark corners, keeping their charges in sight, counting the clients who fork out money for sexual pleasure in the sleazy brothels along Back Road, Port Henderson Road in Portmore, St. Catherine. They are pimps making money from prostitutes, women trapped in a cycle of suffering, selling sex in the area. Many of these women are trying to dodge a life of poverty, brace for regular beatings from the men who act as their protectors. This is not made up. This is what Back Road is known for. Yes, there are some fish vending places out there, sure, but we do know that back road, aka Port Henderson Road, that's
Is what it
it.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mario
So
seems to think that you have an agenda, um, that you're saying that the Jamaican government hasn't been proactive. Do you have any kind of agenda, Danica? I don't think Danica particularly cares, but tell us what your response to that to be. And she
listen,
never said.
I'm
I
not
mean, I
I'm
don't know
not
why
critical.
people. I don't know why
Huh?
people are saying you never said every grocery store was like that. You were speaking
But
about
you can put up the
your
pictures,
own
Sandra. I
personal
sent you
experience.
pictures. I sent you
Yeah.
pictures. So you can share the pictures. That is a popular grocery store. If the person is in Jamaica, they can see that that's popular. I sent you a picture of NCB Bank. We know that these are the places and these are the types of behaviors that we're seeing. This is not strange.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not strange. No, I'm not criticizing the Jamaican government for anything. I am just suggesting that in the same way that we closed some businesses, I would have thought, based on their logic, that call centers would have to be one of the places that they would have thought about because it has a high volume of people that work within it. Why they were left open, I don't know. To me, it just seems like whoever was at the table wasn't really thinking through the decisions because we're limiting hairdressers and barbershops, saying only two people waiting. We were very strict on people that were inside the informal economy in some instances. We were very strict on all sorts of other businesses. But yet, call centers were one of the places that there was not a lot of information expressed by the government. That's all I'm suggesting. I think Andrew Holness is doing a relatively good job, in trying to control the virus as much as possible. I think he and the health minister are doing an extremely good job at trying to share information, trying to stay on top of things. But I do think that they missed the mark on the call centers because I would have
Yeah.
thought
I
that
mean,
that area is it has a lot of people. You're saying you're closing your borders because you're trying to prevent people from being close to one another, but yet you have a work environment which is structured. So it's institute by its design, you have a lot of people in there. Why wouldn't you close them or ask them to reduce their staff complements? That's all I'm suggesting. I am not suggesting anything other. I mean, I don't have an agenda. I don't make money irrespective, sorry, of who is in power.
okay. So a couple comments are a bit rude here, so people listen. You don't have to like her commentary or her viewpoint of what's happening, but it is what it is. Some people think that you're some hoity-toity import, and you're living the high life. People are just not well informed. But you chat too much and blah blah blah. Why did you have to mention prostitution? Listen, if you missed it, what she was trying to do was give us a lay of the land because there are those of us who do not know how Jamaica is laid out. So we were specifically asking about, where is St. Catherine in relation to Kingston, and how do you get back and forth and that sort of thing. So even Marion, who's Jamaican, says yes, she's heard of Back Road before, and she's heard of the prostitution being an issue in that area, and it's been written about in the paper. So what's the big deal? You guys are a little up in your feelings today, so get over it. Um, so she was only trying to put it in context in terms of, um, you know, the areas that you could go through. So maybe back roads is not the most desirable way to get in and out of Portmore. But what happened last night to me was shocking. The fact that, yeah, like you guys are totally off topic. So, what happened last night is that the second the prime minister made this announcement, so many people, there was this mass exodus out of St. Catherine. So, how effective is his lockdown by giving people the notice, and then they all run out of St. Catherine. Like, I don't know how many people left, but
That's the thing. Nobody wants you to be critical of the government's plan or this administration's plan. And I'm not being critical. I'm just suggesting if you were planning to announce that, maybe you should have thought that this was the likely response that people would have had. I'm not sure why we thought otherwise, because we've done lockdowns in other areas and people did try to escape. This is what people will do. I'm just, again, I'm not sure who came up with these ideas. And I'm not in a position where I know the logic behind them. All I can say is that the majority of people that are in Portmore probably are still in Portmore. But there are some that did try to escape. And this is particularly what happened in Italy. When they forced a lockdown in one place, the people ran to another province and they spread it. That's what happened. So I'm just suggesting that more people, or when people make decisions, we need to kind of explain to people that maybe it's not a good idea to run, because what we're trying to do is contain the virus. I don't think people understand how the measures tie into the effort. And that's why I've said, I'm not sure people understand the logic behind social distancing, the logic behind the lockdowns. People are not well informed. And as I sent you in a few pictures, you'll see that in many of it doesn't matter where you go, people are still breaching social distancing protocols. And it's not just here in Jamaica. I mean, over the weekend, we had a story about a British couple that were still on a beach having a fire, having a barbecue. We have it in St. Lucia, St. Martin, Cayman Islands. There were 40 people that breached the curfew orders. I mean, it's just the fact that a lot of people still do not understand well enough the fact that social distancing is a reality and should be followed. They think it's foolishness. That's what I'm trying to bring across here.
I think what's offended people here, I don't know what the big deal is about saying that Back Road has prostitution, but they're all up in their feelings about it. Everywhere has prostitution. I mean, what is the big...
I'm not sure why they're offended, because it's not untrue. So
yes,
exactly. and it's not like this is a secret. It's not a secret.
Yes,
there are many articles written on Back Road. We know that's what it gained notoriety for. Like it, love it.
Yeah. It's Gigi. It's straying because people keep coming with these comments. Some of the comments, someone just said, some of the comments are not necessary if you don't want to hear the cold hard truth. Exactly. Then this probably isn't the show for you. All right, folks. Danica, we appreciate you joining the program. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, there's a lot going on all over the Caribbean, all over the world. Keep us updated. Maybe we'll check in with you a little bit later on in the week to see how the lockdown for St. Catherine is going. So again, it's difficult to understand though, and I get that Jamaica is a much bigger country geographically, but how do you lock down? My question really is, how do you lock down an entire area such as St. Catherine that has 500,000 people? And like you said, you're asking people to travel with their IDs. So presumably there will still be people who are allowed to go in and out if they could give a legitimate reason? Well,
because of where St. Catherine is, it's also one of the parishes that you would have to pass through to get to Kingston, unless you're taking the highway. If you're not, and when I say highway, most of our highways are toll roads. So if you're traveling on a non-toll road to get to Kingston, you will have to pass through St. Catherine, depending on where you're coming from. That's presupposing that you're coming from the west or the north coast. If you're coming from the north coast, there is an alternative where you could come around. But either way, what we do know is that a lot of people use St. Catherine as a port that you go through to get into Kingston. So they suggested that, well, not suggested, they said that they would still be allowing people to pass through the parish. I don't know that that's changed, but up until at the last press briefing, what was said was that people will be allowed to go through the parish.
Okay, Jade, thanks for the compliment. I think you guys are just getting a little off track here. So Casey says, would it have been constitutionally right to announce this morning that St. Catherine is under lockdown and no one can leave? What do you think the outcome would have been, both in the long and short term? So I guess he tried to give people notice, because maybe there were people in St. Catherine who didn't actually live in St. Catherine, so those people needed to leave. But again, how effective is a lockdown that allows people to go? I mean, thousands of people probably already have it in St. Catherine alone. You know what I mean? And I think people have a false sense, and I keep saying this, people have a false sense of understanding of how this virus works. Like, people in Cayman, they're thinking, oh, we only have, what is it, 54 cases. That's so low, great, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, folks, we probably have several hundred cases. Jamaica has tested 100, confirmed 105 people now. Realistically, what do they have? Probably thousands of cases across the entire country. Just looking at the population size and a few other logical, metrics, I think that that's reasonable. There's no one that should be insulted by that. You don't need to get upset about that. It is what it is. So Rondine says, thanks for reaching out to her sister island. Listen, you guys can be annoyed by what you heard this morning. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the whole idea here is to bring you news from islands in the region that are connected to us. We're going to do the same thing with Honduras. We're going to bring someone in from Honduras who's a journalist there, and he also works in the government in Honduras, and kind of get a feel for what's happening. We do not live, this is Cayman Mall Road, and this is the cold hard truth. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of cold hard truth right here and right now. So listen up. We do not live in a world by ourselves. We are not an island unto ourselves. We're an island, but we're not an island to ourselves. So we rely on a lot of different connectivities, whether it is imported labor, all of our goods are imported food. So when people sit down and they care, oh, I don't care about what President Trump is doing, what he's blah, blah. We have to care, folks. You know why? Because President Trump does some BS straight up all the time. And when he does that, that impacts us. He confiscates our goods like he did the other day and then lies about it. That's 8 respirators for a small country like the Cayman Islands, plus 50,000 masks that we do not have access to. So we are all connected. We have Jamaicans in Cayman right now who want to leave. So if you want to leave, maybe you're one of those persons that lives in St. Catherine.
Stay in the Cayman Islands.
You might want to know that now St. Catherine is on a complete lockdown for the next week. So even if we arrange to get a flight out to Jamaica, which as of now, that hasn't been confirmed, that hasn't been done, because the Jamaican Prime Minister is saying, listen, if you come back a yard, you're going to have to pay to stay in a hotel. We do not have the finances to cover that. So we're trying to make sure that you have information from different places around the world so that you are well informed, so you can get the information, right? Danica lives in Jamaica. She's giving a perspective of what is going on there. We saw the traffic pile up there on the interstate this morning. We will be watching, their local news to see exactly what's going on. But a lot of people are sharing stuff on social media. So this is now where we need to make sure that we are very much aware of what's happening regionally and around the world. The first thing the premier does at the press briefing is he tells you what are the coronavirus numbers around the world, and trust me, they are spiking like how you spike a good rum cake. It's a lot. It's probably, I haven't even checked it this morning, but it is probably over 2 million persons worldwide now affected, and thousands of persons who are dead. So if you take away something from it, great. If you don't like what she says and you don't take away anything from it, whatever. Some shows are like that. Casey says, I understand. I'm here in Cayman and I've only left my house 2 times to get necessary food items. And I see some people not abiding by the rules. At the end of the day, we're responsible and should be the premier is doing his best, but he can't force people to stay home while the police can. So you guys better wise up here. We have to make the choice. So we should be trying to help the situation by doing the right thing. I do think that there are people who do not understand social distancing and who just don't get it. And that causes a lot of concern. That's not just in Jamaica. That's here in the Cayman Islands as well. I imagine in Jamaica that because of the population size and a few other factors, it's probably a little bit harder. Like people get insulted when you say to them, don't touch my bag or stay the 6 feet away. This isn't the time to get insulted, folks. This is a time to comprehend how back in 1918, 1919, social distancing saved lives. It's an old trick that is working again now in this day and time. We see reports now that the coronavirus has the potential to travel 13 feet. So even your 6 feet is giving you partial protection. Wearing of your mask is giving you partial protection, folks. Get the information and do the best that you can. Dave, we appreciate your positive comments. He says, thanks for bringing her on. Very informative, and she's easy on the eyes. So, it is what it is, folks. Be safe. I would invite you guys to, I can tell you, Helen, she does not have any political agenda. I mean, you might not agree with how she sees Jamaica or how she sees the world, but I don't think that there's any political agenda there. So it is what it is. Jamaicans tend to get very offended easily when you talk about certain things. Like if you say something about,
Some people are not people of the truth, Sandra. So if they're not
we have
people
that
of
in
the
Cayman
truth,
too, so.
yeah, some people are not people of the truth, and no disrespect to anybody, a lot of people probably making those comments probably haven't been to Jamaica since the 1980s. So they probably don't know what's going on. A lot of people in the diaspora, they like to talk about the romantic images. They romanticize Jamaica. They don't know what's really going on,
Yeah. And everyone
So,
has a different perspective. Like I go to Jamaica with the eyes of an outside person who has a certain perspective of, I wouldn't consider myself a world traveler. I mean, I've not been to 50 countries or even 25 countries. So I've been to the States, in certain area of the States, and I've been to the Cayman Islands. I've been to, Panama, Honduras, Jamaica. So I've been to a couple countries in very sort of isolated situations. So my viewpoint as an outsider, when I go into the country and I see certain things, I get that other people don't see that. They have a very different experience. Like and we even talk about this in our daily OM. If you guys pay attention, 2 people can be in the exact same space and have very different experiences.
yeah, but here's the thing, Sandra. To be fair, everybody knows what the red light district is. To be fair, there are just some things that we know. Just like how we say that Devon House ice cream is the best in the world or the 8th best in the world, and we brag about that. There are some things about Jamaica that are not good too. We have a high murder rate. That's just a fact. We can't make these things up.
Yeah. And I get, because, anytime we would post an article before about something that's going on in Jamaica, even with crime, people are like, well, why are you always trying to hate on Jamaica? And the crime,
we're not. It's
every
just
place,
what
every place has
happened.
crime. Yeah, and it's like,
if you read the daily newspaper here, crime is the number one issue.
Every place has crime.
But Jamaica has a lot of it.
The level of crime that Jamaica has, and not every place has a level of crime that Honduras has. These countries, and this again is a fact, you don't have to like the facts, but the facts can't be changed. They have some of the highest murder rates and crime rates in the world. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
We can't live our truth. We can't come up with solutions as a country, even as individuals. We can't solve our own problems if we're living in a bubble. if we're living in a lie, if we
Are
refuse to
living in
say the truth. Yes, and
denial, because
I
a lot of people here, and let me talk about this issue, because in the coming weeks, in a couple of weeks, deportees will be coming back to Jamaica.
yes. And
The
the U.S. has
government,
said, speaking of facts, if you guys missed that article, it's a fact that the U.S. government don't care what the Jamaican government thinks or what they're going to do. And so they have said, you're taking back your deportees now, regardless of COVID-19, and we not business with you, Jamaica. We don't want to hear no excuses. Take your people then back. So the
and
prime
they
minister
said
has
they had tried to
basically had
delay
to
it.
say, okay.
Well, they had tried to delay it, and the government kept on saying that, he's slowly reopening the borders. Trump has said, you either take them back, and because you're putting us at risk. According to him, that might not be true. I don't know. I'm not in the United States to know what risk they are at other than their own population. But they've said, we're going to impose visa sanctions on you if you don't take these people back. And you need to take them back like now. So there are about 45 people that I know that are booked for a flight within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And so people have to face the facts, whether they think that it's unpatriotic, unnationalistic. The reality is that we have a lot of people that have gone to the United States. Maybe they haven't committed a crime, but they did run off. And that makes them legally in trouble. That puts them in jeopardy, and they will be coming back. So whether people want to buy that fact or not, they don't have to. We do have a situation, because when you come back to this country, unemployment is going to be high because of what we just had with COVID-19. They're now closing down one BPO that employs 787 workers. That's just a fact. We can't run from these types of things. The fact is that we do need to fix crime. And if you stay in your bubble thinking, oh, blah, 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 this is exactly why when you come as a returning resident, you might lose your life, because we have been so far from reality. And it's not people outside. It's sometimes your own family members, the same people that you want to protect.
Yes, and Shane agrees. He said people watch SoFlo TV or True Jamaica Buzz. They all talk about Backroad and the crime. So it is what it is. So anyway, folks, like it or love it, it is what it is. A little bit of controversy this morning, but what is life without a little bit of controversy? Quincy wants to know, why do Caymanians and Jamaicans have a love-hate relationship? Don't deny it. Discuss the reasons. That's a whole other show, Bobo. We will have to bring in a whole panel of Caymanians and Jamaicans to try and sort that out. And you know what? It's the kind of thing that I'll say this in a nutshell. We have to try to make changes on an individual level, because there's so many of us. Like I've said before, my grandfather was a Jamaican, and he brought my family to the Cayman Islands from that connection. Obviously, we have on my mother's side going back multiple generations elsewhere. But, the truth of the matter is, we all just need to take a chill pill sometimes. And there's logical reasons why tensions build up between countries. And until we start talking about what some of those reasons are, and some of the difference culturally between Caymanians and Jamaicans that sometimes make it a little bit challenging for us to get along, even when we're family. Within families, the challenges are there, but we have to find a way to work through this. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I get that Jamaicans love their country, so do Caymanians. But, here in the Cayman Islands, I'm going to tell you how it is, whether you're Caymanian or whatever, especially if you're Caymanian. But the truth is the truth. And what can you do? Danica, thank you so much for tuning in to the show today. We appreciate it. Stay safe. And again, take photos, take footage, because it's like people don't think that you even live in Jamaica. Somebody was asking, where do you live? You must stay in Cayman or something. And you live in Kingston. If you get...
I live in Kingston, Jamaica, halfway tree. Just about the place that nobody wants to live right now because of the amount of people. Yes, it may look like I live elsewhere. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know what we have about against good living conditions in Jamaica, but they do exist. We do
Yes.
live in nice homes. It's not like the 80s or whenever you might have left Jamaica. Jamaica has changed. I am a millennial Jamaican. Both parents are Jamaican. And I don't have to prove that I am a Jamaican because that's just who I am. We're not all going to have the same shared experience. Just like everybody in the Cayman Islands is not rich drinking an $8 soda. So we do
Yes.
have different, there is diversity.
Yes. Yes. And even your chocolatey skin, as someone said, is part of the diversity of being a Jamaican. You know,
Of
we all
course,
come in different shapes and sizes, and the whole works.
you have
It
some with
is,
nice slim faces. I have a pudding pan face, big lips, the usual. I mean, there are way more attractive Jamaican women than me. Still
you're not bothered.
diversity. Not bothered.
Yes, the diversity is good to have. Um, no, I don't think she was saying Jamaica was a dump at all, folks. I think you're getting a little crazy with the comments. All right, so let's end it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The other thing I want to say is we've gotten a number of persons sending through photos of the banking situation today, saying that there's a humongous line at the local banks and they're asking the banks to please consider opening an additional branch. So at Cayman Bay, for example, the line to get in is literally going out the door. So we will be posting a photo of that up here in a minute. Bankers Association, if you're paying attention, if you're listening, we are begging you on behalf of the people of this country to please look into opening at least one other branch because you have reduced hours from 9 to 1 o'clock. I've not been to the bank in over a month and I refuse to go. I have some checks that I have to deposit and they're just going to have to stay there for quite some time because I'm not fighting these lines. I'm just not getting into it. But please, folks, you know, go to the Bankers Association members, which are all the commercial banks, and really and truly try to give us more hours, or not even more hours. I think the government might have said 9 to 1, but open an additional branch. CNB has the most branches on island. I think I can unplug this now and probably get back to my regular voice, but they have the most branches on the island. So what I would suggest is open another branch. There's absolutely no reason why everyone has to go to Cayman Bay and you've got this long line around the building at Cayman Bay. So folks, consider opening another branch. And again, that's a direct message to the Bankers Association. If you get a message moonlighting from the Compass, do not click on the links in that message. It seems like that's some kind of a fake phishing email that is trying to steal information from you. So don't do it. Have a beautiful day, folks. We went a little bit into overtime today. I'll see you guys at about 7:15 in the morning. Be nice.